harder time currently in this meta. We're ready for the next battleground, Game 2 between Simplicity and Team Octalysis, and we'll be heading to Infernal Shrines, an old staple for Octalysis.
Octalysis obviously loves this. We know Alex Straza has a high priority for these teams. And, I want to go back to the point, and I don't want to be overly critical of Simplicity and some of these late game decision makings. It's just that sometimes when you watch around, you see the other regions, you see some of the other teams, those are almost expected win conditions. And I think those are things that they're going to have to learn from, is to watch, see what other teams are doing with some of these vehicle maps like Dragonshire and the Protector there. So those, I just want to put that into context. I got to be critical in the sense that I've seen it happen before. I've seen it numerous times in other teams. I think that's something they're going to have to study a little bit before they get back into that. But Infernal Shrines, they know how to win on this map. A little bit different, because when you can kill people, it does have a lot of success, and you don't have to worry about driving anything.
You say that, but Simplicity has not played on Infernal Shrines yet in Phase 2. Whereas we've had a couple games from Team Octalysis, and Octalysis do indeed like that Sonya. We've seen Simplicity be willing to ban her before. Octalysis also enjoys Diablo. That's an old classic justing pick, and he works very well here. Also, possibly a Tassadar, but as we have talked about for this entire series, with so many adaptations possible, we might see a Tychus here from Prismaticism. Maybe we see another Hammer, who knows? Haven't yet for Infernal Shrines, but feels like the sky's the limit between these teams and how they want to draft this.
I don't think we've seen an Alex Straza from Tiger JK. So
no, that was K1 Pro.
Yeah, so it was K1 Pro that busted that out. So with that being said, Octalysis will be able to first pick any hero, and that is a fast Diablo. And I think Octalysis, they might pick up Alex Straza very early in this rotation, because Buds definitely loves to play that hero on this map.
What we have seen is you have to be willing to accept the consequences of drafting Alex Straza early, and one of those consequences is already out on the board, that being Diablo. But we'll see if Buds wants to do that. Buds also an old hat at playing Rhaegar. He is a very flexible support player if they want to leave that up and try to get two different things, but there they do. They will get Alex Straza. And in lieu of not having Sonya, this has been a priority of Goku on this map before. He'll pick up his Malthael.
It does very well. Diablo, he also saw health buffs at the same time Johanna did. He had his own rework, and then his health got buffed. And it's, I think, maybe buffed again. It's really high. It's right up there. It's almost on par with Johanna. The difference between Diablo and Johanna is he gets souls, he gets more health. And so Malthael does very well with the last rites to deal with Diablo on the front line. As you said, even potentially the Tychus. And I think the Tychus, again, percentage-based damage against Diablo, does give you a lot of frontline control and does do very well on Infernal Shrines.
I wonder if that will force Simplicity to want to get Blaze here. A way of trying to avoid that. It's also something that Zuna has liked, though he, it feels like he is on the Ural train and didn't get Ural last game.
Ardent Defender does well. I mean, makes you
that's some healing right there.
So it also gives you the chance to dive in. When that circle of healing goes down, you dive in, hit him with the big hammer, knock him off. But instead, we will see more fire for this team. Diablo Blaze definitely bringing the heat.
Oh yeah. If only it were next week, and we could bring in the fires of Howl with some Azmodan,
and
or some peppery heat.
Dude, no, more importantly is that 6th skin that came with it.
All of those skins
what is
are
our event
awesome.
called? A War Chrome?
I think so.
I don't know what that skin is called for Raynor.
Wait, if it's War Chrome, where's our War Chromie? Can you imagine? That would be awesome.
What if she, instead of Sandblast, she throws out fireballs, just like a really cool Diablo 2 sorceress would do? And I loved me a fire source. I had all of them.
Me too.
Dude, I mean, fire source, cool. Doesn't matter, you can play them all.
You can almost hear the sigh in your voice.
I love it. I still love it. I mean, Diablo 2 to this day, you can still go back and still play it, and it's still awesome.
That's the great thing about Blizzard games. One of which we're casting here. Who would have thought Jaina gets banned by Team Octalysis? Jaina, of course, a great pairing, and with that very tanky frontline, it would be pretty safe, but pairing with the Phoenix, too, the slows that enable him so much more. Johanna will be the ban for Simplicity. These are two of the, as we had mentioned, previously higher win rates warriors, but of course Octalysis themselves have a lot of options in that.
Tychus looks very appealing. In the rhythm against Diablo and Blaze, it's very, very nice to control that front line. Octalysis, we've seen them run it before. You can even go Titan Grenade at 16 for 5% more damage when you hit them with a grenade and just really chunk away at some of these high health targets. We'll see if that does come in. Maybe Malthael is enough. Tychus also is super beefy. I mean, Odin does very well taking the Shrine with the Alexstrasza, so post level 10. Instead, they're going to go Chromie. We'll see if that Tychus does come in later. But Chromie picked up against this team. Slowing Sands does do well to control a lot of that.
May change up what support we see here, because a lot of times when you see a Blaze with a bunker, he can stop a temporal or last rites, ideally both, but I think Octalysis is not going to give him that option. So maybe here Simplicity, Tiger JK moves into a support that has a cleanse, so they have a couple of different ways of making it through. Though Phoenix here, you know, he has warp, he can try to help himself.
Well, you mentioned the cleanse, and the build that we've seen show up a little bit more and more is Rhaegar with that lightning shield build. And just go into that. You can stack, it does very well around the objective, can do well skirmishing wise. So I like your call there. I mean, if it's going to be, I think Rhaegar would fill those shoes.
Rhaegar doesn't wear shoes, he's a dog. Next to, besides Rhaegar though, Hanzo, all right. And they'll stick with Deckard Cain.
Yo, I've seen some people up north, when it gets cold out, they got little doggy booties.
So cute.
Like you said, dogs don't wear shoes. You just...
All right. I'll concede that point, only because it's adorable. All right, so Hanzo, if that was to be the other pick for Octalysis, that's now denied. Prismaticism is probably going to be that Chromie player. Droided has played so many things. He could build more into melee if he likes, though there is going to be a lot of poke. That's going to be hard for Deckard, so I think he'll probably stick with more of a ranged hero of some type. No Jaina up for him. Any thoughts as to what you'd like to see here?
Again, the Tychus is so appealing to me. It's not something we traditionally see. If it's going to be something, it might be a melee. Tassadar, again, Tassadar Chromie doesn't exactly scream that single target damage. Tychus does.
Yeah,
in terms of sustained damage, I should say. Like I said,
right.
Tyrael, TY. I just got my real and mixed up.
Droided has been playing a lot more melees, which is why I had mentioned that, showing us a couple of Thrall games, and Maiev too, but you know, she and Thrall both are kind of back and forth. But now Tyrael, triple melee, you have Sanctification to enable Malthael some more, you have some cross-supporting with the Tyrael and the Alexstrasza. How does the damage for Octalysis function in this triple melee composition?
Judgment the Deckard, I'm not kidding,
okay,
might be a start. There is an opportunity, I think, that if you run this composition, you can single target blow somebody up. If you Judgment, Dwarf Toss in, and then Chromie Bomb, you can save your Malthael last rites for somewhere else. On the other side, Diablo. If Sanctification is picked up, it's getting more and more appealing to maybe bring APOC back. The big circle where Alexstrasza's healing, the Sanctification, you know where they're going to be. You can fight into those choke points pretty easily. It's getting more and more appealing. I still think Lightning Breath is going to be there, but if there's a Sanctification on the other side, you pop Lightning Breath, Sanct's coming right back at you.
Well, let's get to it. Octalysis currently sits 1-0 over Simplicity, though the last game, if it's any indication, this one could be going either way. We're seeing Droided play the Malthael in favor of Goku playing Tyrael, and that makes me lean more towards Sanctification, trying to have someone who's been on the team for longer, and you know, it can be hard communication-wise to get the most out of those, but not necessarily.
Everything else here, Hosty on the Hanzo. We finally get that back. The Hosty, Hanzo, and a Phoenix here. I think it's a lot of strength. I still want to see a similar composition on another battleground to see how this continues to play out, but this is definitely one where both of them can excel if there are optimal circumstances.
Interested to see how the laning for Octalysis starts. Goku playing that Tyrael, and Droided picking on a Pale Horse. Could do a couple of different things, but they're going to start with trying to... Wow. No, that's what I was talking about when I said lots of melee versus a Deckard Cain. If Stay a While goes off, there's going to be a lot of nap time. That's all I'm saying.
Zuna just bodied them all with a fatty stun, but we're still waiting for that damage to amp up. And I just saw a really good rotation on autos there by K1 Pro on that Phoenix. And then, you know, once that gets going, towards the end of phase 1, Tempo was running the Dragon Zero into APOC. Again,
a lot of people
this is a chance to make that happen.
That's a fair point. That's a synergy that I had somewhat forgotten about. You combo that with a nice old Planet Cracker.
Ooh.
There could be a lot of womboing happening this game.
The Sanctification is just gonna, as it's a likely pickup, I think that's gonna determine what a few of these will be. The hard part is, if you're Simplicity, hold on as we get Zuna. Zigging and zagging, gonna get the stun.
Already had Jet
Gonna get over.
Great route though. He ran back to his support. Life lesson. If that happens to you, run to your support. If you can, do not run away.
There's nothing more just bad feeling when you're a support.
Tilting and they're running away from you.
You're running to heal them and they run the opposite way and you're like, but if you run here, I can heal you, please.
If you run there, I can't. You do the math.
But one of the things for Simplicity, it's going to be a matter of forcing Sanctification, because if you're going Lightning Breath, you've got to get that going. If you're going into the Salvo, obviously you want to make sure that there's not a complete denial of that. Dragon Zero can start that, but I think a lot of it will be, can you force out enough damage to force an early Sank so you can get more value out of your heroics?
I really do feel like the fights are going to be a lot more chaotic for Simplicity than that, though, especially if, like we were talking about, there is a temporal loop and a last rites. I don't necessarily know that we're going to see a temporal loop, though. There's no Dragon's Eye. It's Mobius still. A lot of times you would see Dragon's Eye as a big damage follow-up to temporal to get the blow-up from that.
Yeah, you know, this is now Mobius 2 games in a row, and the damage reduction, there's going to be times where you're going to feel it, and you're like, man, I sure wish I had Dragon's Eye, or basically anything other than Mobius. It does give you that consistent poke, and once you make it to 14, again, you can get spell power, so we saw that picked up last game.
Simplicity have done a great job of getting on this point and getting a lead in the Skeletal Defenders. This is going to make Buds use his Dragon Queen a little bit early, but it does let them get control of this shrine and try to bring it back. They're going to work their way into taking out as many of these Skeletal Defenders as they can before that cooldown ends. Simplicity starting to walk forward, knowing that that's almost done, knowing that they need to get back into the fight.
Here we go. There's going to be the charge in right into the time trap. Zuna doing some damage. The lead still in favor of Simplicity. Looks like they're going to get that, but Zuna just desperately trying to find his way out. Not going to make his way out, but they do pick up the Punisher. Looking at the experience, definitely in favor of Octalysis in the early game, and when you lose your double lane soaker, or at least your solo lane when this is in the mid, your experience far less impactful.
Yeah, Phoenix had to be sent up, which means Hosey's going to do what he can to siege, but you want Phoenix with those faster auto attacks to be able to siege down some of these structures. Diablo needed to go to the bottom to soak up there because they were falling behind. With that one kill, Octalysis clears out that Punisher, no problem. They're very okay with the fact that they lost that Punisher, even with the Alexstrasza comp. One thing that I think Zuna needs to keep in mind that we've seen a couple of times now is between a Tyrael and a Malthael, he's not going to be able to be as aggressive as he's used to with this, because he will never be able to jet propulsion out, ideally, because having the Tyrael and the Malthael, there are far too many body blocks, and now you see Touch of Death there, which is going to limit his self-healing capabilities, possibly, if that's used in the right way. And because of that, Zuna is going to need to approach this a little bit differently because of all those melees.
We also have the Emerald on the other side for Deckard, and here's a lot of damage. Healing reduction.
Same thing. So coordinated in those body blocks. Very well done with this heavy melee comp.
Well, you mentioned self-healing, and I don't know if I have not seen, this is Diabolical Momentum picked up for Diablo at 7. It's normally been a lot of that Fire Stomp build, because it gives you more sustain.
Yeah, and that is pretty much the crucial one because that's the reset whenever you get stuns. But I think this just shows that we're going to move into Devastating Charge again and then have the reset for the Shadow Charge 2 after Overpower. With Domination, we've seen that quite a bit, especially on this map, and you know, not having the reset of Fire Stomp takes away a lot of what you're looking to do with that build.
Right now, some early sieging going on here for Octalysis. They've established a full level lead. They've got the Chromie continuing to rain down on that bottom well, considering this next shrine is in the bot lane. Trying to take as much as they can.
Yeah,
but yeah, even get a little poke in.
It's pretty long range. And that Flame Buffet. Jesse will dive out now that he's cleared enough space so that Octalysis can get that well. Heroics are almost here. No temporal loop. It is the slowing sands, and we saw a couple levels ago, but the big question mark that I know is on your mind, Jay, how is Tyraos?
Well, he didn't make it last for very long.
Nope.
I honestly thought he would hold that just to see what Diablo would do. I mean, look, it's 99% likely you're going Sanctification no matter what. But just to play that game and see if Diablo, we haven't seen APOC. It's just very rare at this stage of the game, and Lightning Breath seems likely, and still is. It's just a matter of, will APOC ever have a come? It's mostly around the slow. Look, it's not always about the damage. The damage is nice, but it's more about the slow and the control, and you get the clear. So there are a lot of utility elements to Lightning Breath now.
Yeah, and it's a good combo with Purification Salvo, similar to what we see with an Earthquake when Thrall's picked with Phoenix. Next, Punisher phase is ready. Simplicity moves to the point, and we're gonna have our first past 10 fight between the two teams. Goku gets the flip from King Caffeine, who is stacked on souls, right where he wants to be for this fight.
Super tanky, but definitely don't want to lose those. Everybody's holding their heroics, waiting to counter the other. Cleansing Flames are out. There's the initiator. Here comes the salvo in return. That's going to put out some damage and Sanctification instantly, and that's allowing the aggression to come in. Last Rites was used, but it's going to be Diablo hopping in the bunker.
Dragon's Arrow was used just to stop the aggression forward from Octalysis. Until Simplicity can heal up, they are not able to get back on this point. Alex Straza doing far more to keep the team alive, but a lot of that comes down to the Sanctification, which was really good to negate a lot of that Purification Salvo damage. And without a lot of the potions being out and up prior to that Shrine phase, because Simplicity came in a little bit past, or after Octalysis did, they were not able to heal up in the same way. They lose this Punisher, and with the damage done earlier, this defense is going to have to be shoved back.
The brute force mentality with that style of composition, that triple melee, they were able to walk right in, and again, the Sanctification, as long as it's used for defensive measures, then the salvo, again, it's going to limit so much of that firepower. As the fort falls, Keep Wall starting to take a bit of damage as the Punisher baited over there by Diablo, but the sieging continues as 13 picked up, entire Keep Wall about to fall here, and a lot has happened in the last few moments for Octalysis behind no kills.
Yeah, it hasn't really been about getting kills for them. It's just about staying healthier than Simplicity, not dying to Simplicity, and then having the Shrine control to get that Punisher. And now this is a place that so many teams in the upper echelon of North America feel very comfortable. Teams like Team Freedom getting ahead, getting a talent tier lead so that you can just rotate around, get camps, push structures that are free as your opponents respond to those camps, and then keep that talent tier going, advantage into the next Shrine.
See if they can make it happen as Octalysis, level and a half lead, continuing to push the advantage. They're going to pick up this camp, and behind a Chromie and this heavy front line, might be a chance for them to push in, get some more structure damage. Next Shrine will be here in the middle. The well's already long but gone. The wall has pretty much fallen here. If they can continue to get structures down and get that experience, they could be looking at that 16 talent tier fighting into the Shrine, and Simplicity would have to concede another unless they can find a way to get a pick between now and that next Shrine phase, because it's looking grim that they'll be in that 16 talent tier range at the same time. And if you are behind, you get behind against the Dragon Queen. We already saw what happened.
Well, Firestomp build continues to be it for Diablo. despite having diabolical momentum. But 16 that you talked about for Team Octalysis is a big deal for Alex Straza. Draconic Discipline getting the increased duration on the Dragon Queen makes an even bigger monster, a bigger mountain to deal with for a team around those shrines.
Here we go. Simplicity. It's got to be structures or it's got to be a team fight. Slowing Sands going down for a little bit of vision. They've got Goku on the Tyrael who can always put down. There's going to be Dragon's Eye dropped. Time trap in one. I mean, Octalysis is making all the proper defensive measures happen as they continue to keep an eye on things. Muradin has shown at the bottom, so if Simplicity was going to pull the trigger and get aggressive, this is their chance.
Yeah, not always the split soak hero of legend that you expect on Muradin, but it is a tanky target to hold on to that lane, and one with an escape of Dwarf Toss. While we see Malthael in the mid, Simplicity are forced to back off. 16 almost here for Octalysis, running this map as exactly to perfection that you would like to see from them in this mid game. Holding on to the camp to pick that up just in time. They're even going to get aggressive now with the threat of 16 looming over Simplicity's heads. Will they stick around?
Phoenix making his way up and can fight in this. Holy Ground was picked up, so they can just walk right in and take it. Lightning Breath out in return. And there's the Sanctification. Cleansing Flame comes down. They did get on the back towards Chromie, but the attention is here on the front. Bunker not down in time. Diablo first to fall. Losing those.
Prismat.
That scatter arrow just deleted Prismat.
Yeah, it was an awesome dive over the front line of Simplicity to get that counter kill. And Diablo's gonna come back though. Hosty falls as Justine slams him to the ground. King Caffeine just out back. Sands Soul. Zuna falling victim yet again to the body blocks of Team Octalysis. And now K1 Pro gets knocked back, wanted to warp away. But Buds with that Dragon Queen stopping that from happening. And that allows Octalysis to get that kill too.
Dude, that Holy Ground by Goku was straight money. Diablo came back and he's walking forward. He's like, I'm overpowering one of you and you're coming with me to this fort. And then the Holy Ground comes there and I just watched Diablo's body like wiggle around. He's like, I can't get in range with these tiny T-Rex arms. And he just couldn't get in there. And it was because the Holy Ground was so perfectly placed by Goku that likely saved one member in that. But the plays by Justine to follow that Hanzo over the wall and get that takedown. Very good plays happening here for Octalysis.
Simplicity were willing to fight without 16 over that camp. They did have things like Lightning Breath, and you saw them get the one kill in the back to take out Chromie, but unfortunately, it's not just the kills, it's the reset of souls, last rites of Draded, held that for a long time until he was sure that it would execute that Diablo. And now 16 is just now here. Simplicity are underneath this fort, which is a scary place to make a defense, but they're gonna try to make it happen.
Sanctification used, Caffeine trying to be aggressive, but Cleansing Flames come down. He's gonna hop in the bunker, give him a little bit of time, gets a little bit of a nudge there from the Holy Ground as Chromie continues to rain down those sand bombs. They still got to bait this over one more time, trying by a little bit, and Justine's going to follow it right over.
Yes, Cap has Lightning Breath when he chooses to want to use it, which will be right now just to clear out the rest of that Punisher. Justine is slowed from that. Goku's going to go forward to Holy Ground, give him some space to get out, but Justine will still use Avatar just to ensure that he doesn't give over any extra experience than necessary to Simplicity.
K1 Pro had a really nice follow-up there to get into position, to get some of that bonus damage from that level 1 talent on that heal area, but the Chromie Dragon's Breath and the big hammer coming in from Justine made that super difficult. Justine, he's going to be the target right here.
Yes, flip over and the follow-up's there, but it's Justine, it's Muradin. He dwarf tosses out. Octalysis willing to take this fight. This is a place where Simplicity wants to get a fight if they can.
Dragon Zero is available. See if they're going to rip that and look for this fight. I don't think they're going to have many opportunities between now and 20.
Woof, that time trap set up perfectly for the Chromie bombs to follow. Chunks out K1 Pro. Octalysis will go in again with the Holy Ground. And there is the Dragon's Arrow that you talked about. Purification Salva to follow up.
And the self-cleanse by Draded. I have got to see that again when this is over, because he walked right into it, hit the self-cleanse, last rites. That's going to take down King Caffeine. Zuna's the next to fall. K1 Pro does not have a warp, does not matter as he goes down. And Octalysis just dominating this game.
Awesome to see the adaptations, the flexibility from Draded, that he can flex over to this Malthael to let Goku shine on the Tyrael. And even with this solo Chromie backline composition, Octalysis takes the keep, has a 4-level lead over Simplicity on their home at Infernal Shrines.
It's going to be a miracle if Simplicity is able to hold on here. They can bait the Punisher over towards that mid keep, maybe have a last chance there, but you better believe that Justin will be right alongside that Punisher. And when the Punisher jumps, Justin jumps, and he will slam that hammer right into that face. It's one of the reasons why you see him holding his 20, because he could go in, get the rewind, and then just double clap, double hammer, and really just help delete somebody. And there's no cleanse on that side of Simplicity, so that might just be the finisher. Unless Simplicity has the crazy notion that they're going to fight without 20 tier on this shrine that is going to be here in about 20 seconds.
I want to go back to the Draded playing that Malthael, because his last rates have been so patient, but he knows he can get the kill on Diablo because there's not a lot of saving power from a Decker Kane. All he has to do is wait for the bunker to come out, and then from that, start to whittle him down, and then keep on him with whatever he can, just in case a potion does come out. It's awesome to see this adaptation from this player who has come from humble beginnings into HGC and now shows such flexibility, but also such ability to be on the front line or the back line, no matter what. Draded's doing awesome for this team. Desperate
times call for desperate measures. Simplicity is going to fight into this without the talents here. That jump in, that follow-up, and nice Holy Grunt. It's going to lock out Zuna, putting down some oil. They're fighting. Dragon Queen not even used yet, not even needed.
Watch for the
Zuna
bunker.
eating damage, has to bunker here.
And now out of this, keep an eye on Draded if he gets into position for the last right. Zuna has to jet propulsion away. King Caffeine yet again, another last right will claim his life. Octalysis wants to go forward too. Everyone low. This could be a team wipe. Hosty looks to be the next to fall as the front line has been obliterated. K1 Pro leading the other way. Hosty buying as much time as he can, but with just Tiger JK and K1 Pro left, and K1 Pro almost certainly following the rest of the team. Should be Octalysis getting a win, although they have taken down a couple of people, that being Simplicity, but with everyone a full team wipe, Octalysis is looking to go up 2-0 in this match.
Catapults camp and an imminent Punisher. Octalysis 14 kills to 3, might even get one to top this off, depending on how fast this Punisher gets here and how aggressive Justin wants to be. But it's just a matter of staying here. Who needs the Punisher? No siege damage, no problem. Malthael, he's like, I got this.
Octalysis goes up 2-0 over Simplicity. We asked when the time would be that this team clicks, things come together for them. We said it had to be this weekend. And though their next opponent, looking past Simplicity, is going to be a tough one. It's Endemic tomorrow. This is still a great start, going up 2-0 over Simplicity, who a lot of teams don't necessarily consider to be on the same level as Octalysis, but do see them as a dark horse, able to take games or even series off of anyone who isn't ready for them.
We're looking forward, but after the reverse sweep that Octalysis suffered last week, I guarantee you they are not looking forward yet. There's no way you can
That's
look
fair.
forward. It's maybe an easier opponent compared to Tempo Storm, their prowess, but they're not looking forward yet. I don't think they can. It's clearly in their mind, but right now they need to focus on closing this out. 2-0 is great, but you need to get that third win when it's right in front of you. And I wondered about the triple melee and the play there, and obviously Draded there. I think we might have our replay available. We're gonna take a look at this, because this right here was such a clutch play by somebody that is playing the melee as we hop into this, but somebody playing that melee who's not always there. The number one thing about it is that we're gonna run it forward. It's the cooldown of Dragons. Paul's right here. It's all about Hosty, right? Hosty getting in position. We'll go ahead and run it forward. And it's all about positioning. Hosty's going to go back. The further back are, Paul's right now. Because Draded is right here. Dragon's Arrow is available. These are prime targets to hit right here. So Hosty's going to go backwards, but you have self-cleanse. Watch Draded come down and eat this. This is This is money right here. We're going to run it forward. And just watch Draded as we go forward. He's going to wear that with that unstoppable. And that way he knew. And that saved the fight. That saved a massive stun that would have come in on that back line. And as that happened, that turns the fight around. And then Draded's like, I'm not done yet. I'm going to go forward. And he gets the last right. He goes in, helps confirm another kill. And that was such a clutch play in that moment from a player you don't necessarily expect to make those types of plays, but he casually is like, oh yeah, let me walk into this, ate it. His backline was out of stun range. He had that self-cleanse, wore it, and turned that fight. With that play alone, yes, there's a lot going on. There's multiple variables, but that play right there was so good. I'm very impressed with that.
I was impressed with his Maltheo play, the patience for the last rights, that play right there, even his body blocks and his in-concert play with Goku. It feels like that was very practiced, and likely it was. But as we have talked a lot about the flexibility of this team, that he can flex over to Maltheo and look that confident. Like, he's been playing Maltheo forever. And I think part of that is that he's a Hanzo player himself, so he knows what the other teams...
You see a Hanzo go back, he's about to rip that
He knows
arrow.
what he needs to be doing, but these are great plays from Draded and from the rest of Octalysis, and we'll see if they can keep that up. Right after this break, we'll have Game 3 between